Last week, Vice President Vance and Secretary of State Rubio have intimated that the United States may just drop the ball, if you will, on Ukraine. General Kellogg proposed an absurd strategy, which he knew would be dead in the water from the Kremlin's perspective. And President Trump and President Zelensky had a one-on-one in, of all places, the Vatican and St. Peter's Basilica, and the president sounded more pro-Zelensky than ever after whatever they said. What is your take on where Ukraine...
Yeah, I gotta say, this guy is openly, obviously, like a complete curmudgeon. Like, whatever he does. I've noticed that Napolitano, I haven't watched him like a super whole lot, but it is kind of funny to me how you can tell by the tone of his voice whose side someone's on. Like, I don't think he really goes out of his way to sound like he's fair and balanced anyway. So I don't want to call him a hypocrite if he's never presented himself that way. But I do find it kind of funny. And it looks now like that President Trump is more, pro-Zelensky than ever. Or however he just said it. It's like... And damn it, you kids, keep the fuck off my grass. Keep off my stay off the grass.
After whatever they said. What is your take on where Ukraine is going from the perspective of negotiations and from the perspective of military action?
Well, I don't think there's much in the way of negotiation. I think Zelensky and the circle of people that surround him have decided that they're going to fight to the last Ukrainian. Now, I don't know what that means, and I think we're going to get an education in the near future when the Russians launch this offensive that I think could ultimately end the conflict.
Yeah, the thing about it I think is funny about Macgregor is, I used to tell people who were into Alex Jones, well, I'm not going to tell you to believe in Alex Jones, don't believe Alex Jones. But here's what you do. Don't listen to anything new he does at all. Go back a year, 2 years if you can do it or more. And just binge watch nothing but old shit. And see if this guy is actually reporting a hole in the ground and able to distinguish it from his ass. I hold anybody to the that same challenge, only with Douglas Macgregor.
I don't think Zelensky is interested in any form of compromise on anything.
Zelensky is the one that is not willing to compromise. He actually is. More than I probably would be in that position. I'll never know, but because he had said he's willing to let Crimea go, which is a shame, although I understand. So no, he's straight for the front door. He's lying. I don't think I commend that if Zelensky still stands by that, though. Although I understand why. But does he ever mention in this point that Putin is not willing to compromise? Well, or if he is, then why? Of course, Putin is the one who said that this would be over in a week and a half, something like that. I think he even said 5 days. And what are we in year 3 now? We're just about there? Yeah, we're in year 3, right? He's having to outsource North Koreans to go and fight for him, even though he lied about it. They have verifiable proof on that. They even found a Chinese motherfucker in his military. But of course Putin, he's going to go to the worst nations in the world because those are who his allies are. But again, we'll leave my own objective reality out of this. So there we go. Yeah, right through the front door, you can tell that this guy's a Putin puppet by the way he talks. Only somebody who's either enamored with Putin or paid by Putin or both. I don't think he's enamored by Putin. I think that there was a point when he started taking money. I don't think this man has a soul. I mean, Zelensky's not world. Well, why the fuck should Zelensky is the country that has been invaded. I don't understand how red-blooded, patriotic American folk have found it in themselves to see that it is in line with what they believe in to criticize a country that has been invaded for being not willing to compromise. I would love to see how any of us Americans out here, I don't care if it's from California to the New York Island, if we were invaded by, pick a country, who gives a shit about the analogy, and after 3 years of being invaded unprovoked, of course, Macgregor doesn't believe that. He believes in this really convoluted, jump through every hoop on the planet bullshit of how somehow Putin was provoked. We've all heard it. We all know what it is. He was going to join NATO, and he promised not to. He neither was going to join NATO, nor did he promise not to. And that was a threat to Russia. It wouldn't have been even if he was, because NATO is strictly defensive. They've never attacked a country. There's no reason to think they ever would. And we now know that Zelensky should have tried to join NATO because he was going to invade anyway. I want to touch on this bullet point because I know this Macgregor. I almost said something I kind of wish I might have regretted. Yeah, I pick on people for their ethnicities and their national origins. Fuck everyone's feelings. Yeah. So no. Not one word of scorn towards Putin, and something tells me, here's my Douglas Macgregor may not be good with his predictions. I'm actually decent at it. He will not say one blade of shade towards Putin through this entire thing. Let's see how I do.
I don't think Zelensky is interested in any form of compromise on anything, and that's one of the reasons that from the very beginning, when President Trump suggested a ceasefire, that Putin wasn't going to do it, because he said all you're doing is creating opportunity for the Ukrainians to rearm, re-equip, and renew the war.
Okay. So like Hamas, right? He seems to be kind of sympathetic. Like, what was every sane person saying for the last coming up on 2 years now? No, we're not doing a ceasefire. This is going to give Hamas a chance to regroup and then commit another atrocity. Fuck that. We're going to fight this until the end. Putin doesn't want a ceasefire for the same reason, because he wants to annex a country that Russia actually declared was an independent state. So none of this, it was always part of Russia in the first place shit, which I believe, I may not like this Mick here. Mac. There, I did it. I may not like him, but I'm not going to put words in his mouth. But I am pretty sure that he has said that Ukraine is not. I believe he said Ukraine is not a legit country and that Russia doesn't have to respect it. He says something like that here. I skipped a little ahead at one point. I won't comment on that till we get to it, but yeah. Hello, Douglas. Well, there you go. That's why Israel couldn't do this brave surrender that you seem to think America's allies need to do. I remember C.S. Lewis said something in, I believe it was the book Mere Christianity, where he said, trying to picture a world that couldn't exist. And he said, imagine a world where people are admired for running away in battle. He said, you might as well imagine a country where 2 and 2 equals 5. It can't exist. No country like that could sustain. Yet here we have Douglas Macgregor and people in his ilk in general doing a pretty good job convincing people that that is the status quo. God help us.
it's unsurprising that negotiations, frankly, haven't gone anywhere. I don't think they will.
I mean, it is President Zelensky free to negotiate. And by that, I mean, in the Russian mind, he is not legally the head of the government. So, of what value would be anything he signed? And in the domestic.
Hang on. In the Russian mind, they don't think the fact that he's president is legit, that he's legitimately the leader. Therefore, nothing he signs matters. Okay. Hamas stopped the elections, so I don't know why Macgregor wants Israel to negotiate with them. That has nothing to do with anything. Plenty of leaders are not recognized as legit. That doesn't stop the fact that they're the leader of the country. This is not how the world works, Judge. And again, this old fart should know that. He's been around a while. There have been many people that we didn't consider legit that we went ahead and negotiated with. We continue to do it all the time. The minute a democratically elected, quote unquote, I mean, we really shouldn't be counting Putin as legit. We all know he rigs his elections. It's not even controversial. He makes very little attempt to hide it. Like if 2020 was rigged in America, there's no argument about Putin. The fact that anybody even argues this one is amazing. I mean, but you don't even have to go there with Putin. Pretty much every Arab leader, they have an election, somebody gets elected, if they even have an election, and then the rest of them are, the Slavic way is to have fake rigged elections. With the exception of Saddam Hussein, most of the Arab world just says, "Fuck this! I'm stopping the elections." They do a Castro anyway. Again, this has nothing to do with anything. Whether Putin approves of it or not is irrelevant. Putin has obviously shown he's willing to that he goes to the head of Ukraine, which is Zelensky, whether he likes the fact that Zelensky is the one or not. You don't get to just not recognize the head of a state in order to now I'm just not going to negotiate him. I mean, you can, but that has nothing to do with it. I don't even think Putin claims that. I don't even think Putin says, well, I can't negotiate with Zelensky because I don't recognize that he's a legitimate leader of Ukraine. What kind of stupid shit is this?
Well, he probably wouldn't get out of the building alive if he agreed, for example, to cede Crimea to the Russians as a condition for ending the war. Agreed?
Yeah, I think that's true to some extent. I think also keep this in mind. We've talked about the Austrian model of neutrality.
Right.
And that was negotiated by the leader of Austria, the president, or what we would call the chancellor. And that was a man named Bruno Kreisky. He had been popularly elected and was enjoyed widespread support inside the country. That's obviously not the case with Mr. Zelensky. Certainly, there are Ukrainians that share this deep, abiding hatred of the Russians, and regardless of what happens, will fight on. But I think the majority of people in Ukraine have had it with the war.
Okay, so what he's doing is a little bit of a shell game. I'm going to start off by saying overall that is a lie. This is a lie that has been was shot to bits before when Donald Trump tried to make the same stupid claim when he got his panties in a bunch because he got triggered by something that happened off screen the day before with Zelensky in the Oval Office that day. No, okay. And Simon, you and I talked about this, but I'll recap. He has opponents in his country. Yeah, it's a democracy. Oddly, though, even his opponents are supporting him right now. This right here knocks Douglas Macgregor's right out of the water as a credible person, because the only people that have anything that resembles statistics to show that Zelensky is not popular with his people is Russia. And like if you wipe your ass with the paper that Russian statistics that are approved by the Kremlin, wipe it very carefully because it's really not worth the paper that it's written on. It's just not. And I don't know. I feel like I should insert something in here. This is easily verified shit. The best he would do to just this again, you would never try to make a stupid claim like this unless you were on Putin's dime or you were just had some, or you're massively in love with him. One of the other. I'm gonna see what I can slap in here. I probably this first video, you know, I'm way too OCD to do what most of the people who do videos on politics do, where you just kind of, we'll just skip through this. And I gotta get every little thing one by one, preferably in consecutive order. I gotta discipline myself to even do things out of order. So enough about me.
Ukraine, but we haven't heard from Ukraine. Let's do that with Kira Ruddock, leader of Ukraine's Holos, in a week when an American president suggested your country was responsible for the start of the war.
Hello, Luis, and thank you so much for having me. No, we were not thinking that something like this could happen. And also we honestly 3 years ago didn't think that we will be here 3 years. Not too many people were betting on us and thinking that we will last for more than a couple of days. So first and foremost, we are happy to be here, to be alive, to live in a sovereign, independent country that is fighting for its survival. And we are grateful to everyone who supported us on this path. Yes, the situation that happened recently is super painful, unfortunate, and I wish it never happened. Because as a Ukrainian politician, people's representative, I have to answer calls from our military who are asking what's it all about and how someone could have said that. And people who lost their loved ones at the front line or at Russian terrorist attacks are also feel this pain, and it's very hard to explain and to somehow try to make people understand. So yes, this is super painful. But the most important is what's going to happen next. And the question is, are we getting the security guarantees so Russia would not attack us again or not? Because what we heard, everyone is talking about, should Ukraine have seat at the table? What Ukraine is ready to forfeit? Are we ready to cede our territories, or are we ready to never join NATO? But nobody's talking about...
President Trump says, and he repeatedly says, that he wants peace. And who can be against peace? There are some people listening to this who will echo that view. Could you just explain in very clear terms how it is and why it is that right now so many in Ukraine fear that if the peace were adopted, what would happen next? Because it would probably be another invasion from Russia at some point, surely.
Absolutely. And I agree with that statement. So, facts. Russia has attacked us in 2014, where they annexed Crimea and took over our eastern territories. Since that time, we have been in so-called ceasefire deal with them. And there was not a single day where they would honor this ceasefire. And there was not a policeman to come and say, look what they are doing. They are still killing us. So it led to Russia feeling really strong and powerful and feeling that West wouldn't do anything. And in 2022, they started full-scale invasion. These are, again, the facts. So right now, we do not believe, again, from what we have seen at the front line and at our homes that are being attacked by drones and missiles every single night, that if there is a ceasefire deal, first, that Russia would honor it, and second, that they would stop the producing of drone missile supplies. And that would mean that at some point, without really good understanding of how we would contradict to that at some point they will attack us again. They are working really closely with China, Iran, and North Korea. It is a military alliance. They are interchanging with their weapons and supplies and technologies. And again, nobody can guarantee that they would stop doing that if Russia will stop fighting at the front line.
And it is worth just saying, Kira, isn't it? It's just to remind people that these talks have been going on this week in Riyadh between Marco Rubio, the American Secretary of State, Sergei Lavrov, the Russian Foreign Minister. And during that time, it is not even as if the attacks, the drone attacks, the missile attacks and so on, from Russia into Ukraine have ceased or stopped just for the duration of those talks. While those talks have been going on, Russian attacks have continued.
Absolutely, which was, basically was contradicting to Donald Trump's statement that Putin wants peace. Let us see at least something that would confirm the statement. And we have not seen any single thing. There was not additional interchange of the prisoners of war. Russia did not return children that were kidnapped from Ukraine. They did not stop attacking us. By the way, everybody is talking about Munich Security Conference, where J.D. Vance was giving a cold shower to European politicians. However, during that time, there was Russian drone attack of Chernobyl sarcophagus. How dangerous is that? Kids in Ukraine know not to go anywhere Chernobyl sarcophagus. Russia is attacking it deliberately, targeting nuclear plant that has caused already so much pain and destruction.
And Kira,
so show me the fact that Russia wants peace.
And Kira, could we just explain to people, because again, you hear this, I've seen it on social media myself in Britain the last few days, saying, well, and Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform in this country, said, well, yes, Zelensky is going to have an election at some point. Echoing what Trump had said, saying that, he hadn't had an election. Of course, in this country, we didn't have an election during the war. We didn't have a general election from 1935 all the way to 1945. But could you just explain why it would be completely impractical for your country to hold elections right now?
I wouldn't say impractical. I would say impossible.
Indeed, yes.
So, first of all, it's against our constitution that forbids the election during the martial law. Number one. Number two, first and foremost thing is security. Sometimes we have air raid sirens going on for like 10 hours, 12 hours. How would you conduct elections when people are unsafe even to go and vote? Number three, we have around 1 million people right now serving in armed forces of Ukraine. How would these people not only participate in the elections to vote, but actually participate and exercise their right to be voted for, other than like going home, right? And this is what Russia wants for our army to disassemble. We have 6 to 8 million of people who right now are refugees and live in different countries. Basically, Polish representative once said that it would cost for Poland to hold Ukrainian elections right now as much as to hold like their own elections. So many Ukrainians are there. And with all that being said, then the question is, are we going to be able to have people elected at the temporary occupied territories? Or would these elections be de facto that we will accept that we are not controlling the territories and not allow people to vote there? So I do not see any possible way of doing that. And then the main question is why? Because Donald Trump says so? Or because why would we even do that right now? Again, that we have the legislation part that forbids that, and then we have like many practical and realistic things that wouldn't allow that. And nobody's asking those questions inside Ukraine, like, should we have elections?
No, it's the last thing on your mind.
I'm a leader of oppositional party, and I'm telling you, we should not have the elections because we need to concentrate on the war and on the front line. So this all sounds like very much what Russians would want, and this is why we would not do it.
Kira, the President Zelensky this week said that that President Trump is living in a world of disinformation. Now, some people in the West have thought that that was unhelpful because you get into a war of words with Trump.
But I think the majority of people in Ukraine have had it with the war and would certainly like to see an end to it. Now, is he free to end it? Is he simply under the guns of the people around him? I suppose so. But what difference does it make? He's ultimately responsible. He's the leader of Ukraine. And if he is not going to put his life on the line for his country, then what can we expect from the rest of the people?
if he's not going to put his life on the line for his country, yeah, because that's not what he's doing already. So this is inversion propaganda that I don't know if I've ever seen. He's basically painting Zelensky out to be a coward for fighting under this imaginary idea that he's surrounded by people who are going to shoot him if he doesn't fight on. It's implying that Zelensky wants to surrender his country to in part or in full to Russia, but damn it, he's scared of people who will beat him up. Oh man, I know. Okay, this is another reason. This guy is full of shit. If you have to jump through that many hoops to make the sky green, just accept it's not green. But you're being given some green or whatever currency that Putin is giving him, which I'm sorry, it's not an argument from silence. There's no way that a general, a retired U.S. Army general with this much global experience can say this much shit that is just blatantly untrue, unless someone's paying him. Now, one could say Putin's not paying him; he's just selling books. Okay, but something got him on this train in the first place. That's gonna have to be it for now. I got some shit to do, and I'm desperate need of a nap. So that's my thoughts for now. I will. About. Oy, I'm not that far in, but no, I have every intention of finishing this one. But this will have to do for now.